Most men believe attraction is built with grand gestures, expensive dates, perfect lines, dramatic confessions. But the truth is much quieter than that. The deepest emotional connections are usually built through small signals most people overlook. One of the most powerful of those signals is the way you name someone. There is a secret language hidden in relationships. It is not about complicated psychology tricks or rehearsed pickup lines. It is about the emotional meaning behind simple words, especially the names you give the person you care about. A nickname may seem like a small detail, but in the emotional world of human connection, small details carry enormous weight. When a woman hears a nickname from a man she feels comfortable with, something subtle happens inside her mind. It signals familiarity. It signals closeness. More importantly, it signals that she is being seen in a personal way that others do not see her. Her real name belongs to the world. A nickname belongs to the connection between the two of you. Think about it this way. Hundreds of people may call her by her name every day. Co-workers, friends, strangers, family members. But the moment someone special calls her something unique, something warm, something affectionate, that word becomes tied to a feeling. And human beings remember feelings far longer than they remember words. Psychologists often describe this as emotional anchoring. A word becomes connected to an emotion. Over time, hearing that word triggers the emotion automatically. That is why the right nickname can make a woman smile before she even realizes why. But here is something important most men misunderstand. A nickname alone does not create attraction. It amplifies attraction that already exists. If there is no connection, the nickname feels forced. If the connection is real, the nickname becomes powerful, and that is exactly what we are going to explore today. Psychologists often describe this as emotional anchoring. A word becomes connected to an emotion. Over time, hearing that word triggers the emotion automatically. That is why the right nickname can make a woman smile before she even realizes why. But here is something important. Most men misunderstand. A nickname alone does not create attraction. It amplifies attraction that already exists. If there is no connection, the nickname feels forced. If the connection is real, the nickname becomes powerful. And that is exactly what we are going to explore today. In this video, we are going to decode 10 nicknames that can create warmth, trust, and emotional connection when used naturally. More importantly, we will explore the psychology behind why these words carry so much meaning in the female mind. But before we go deeper, I want to ask you something simple. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. I always enjoy seeing how far this community of personality psychology with Isabella reaches around the world. Now, let's continue because the next part reveals something even more fascinating. Why the female brain reacts so strongly to affectionate nicknames in the first place. Oxytocin, on the other hand, is known as the bonding hormone. It is the chemical responsible for trust, emotional closeness, and connection. Oxytocin is released when people hug, when they hold hands, when they feel safe around someone, and even when they hear certain affectionate words from someone they care about. This means that when a nickname is spoken in the right emotional environment, it does something very subtle but powerful. It links your presence with feelings of comfort, warmth, and attraction. Over time, the brain starts building associations. Your voice becomes connected to positive emotion. Your presence becomes linked with safety and familiarity, and the nickname becomes a trigger for that entire emotional experience. This is why sometimes a woman will smile the moment she hears a certain word from someone special. Not because the word itself is magical, but because the brain has connected that word with a feeling. But here is something important to understand. The chemistry only works when the emotional context is real. If a man uses affectionate nicknames too quickly before there is trust or comfort, the brain reacts differently. Instead of dopamine and oxytocin, It may trigger caution. The nickname feels forced. The emotional timing feels wrong. That is why emotional intelligence matters. The most effective men do not rush emotional language. They allow connection to grow naturally first. When the emotional space is comfortable, the nickname becomes a natural extension of the bond. And when that happens, the impact is surprisingly strong. The word itself becomes small. The feeling behind it becomes unforgettable. This is why something as simple as, hey gorgeous, or good morning sunshine can linger in a woman's mind for hours. Not because it is complicated, but because the brain has attached meaning to it. Now, here is where things become even more interesting because it is not only the word that matters. The tone, the timing, and the energy behind the nickname matter even more. And that is exactly what we are going to explore next. Now that we understand the psychology and chemistry behind affectionate nicknames, we need to talk about something even more important than the words themselves. Because the truth is, the nickname is only half the equation. The other half is the energy behind it. Two men can say the exact same word to a woman, and she will react completely differently to each of them. One will make her smile, the other will make her uncomfortable. The difference is not the nickname. The difference is the tone, the timing, and the emotional presence behind it. Women are incredibly sensitive to emotional signals, much more than most men realize. Long before she processes the words you say, her brain is already reading your tone, your facial expression, and your overall energy. If your voice carries calm confidence, the nickname feels warm and genuine. If your voice carries nervousness or neediness, the exact same nickname can feel forced or awkward. Think about a simple phrase like, hey, gorgeous. When it is said casually with a relaxed smile and steady eye contact, it feels natural. It feels like a moment of appreciation. But when it is said too intensely or too quickly, it can feel like someone trying too hard to impress. This is why emotional timing matters. Nicknames work best when there is already a small amount of comfort between two people. Maybe you have shared a few conversations. Maybe you have laughed together. Maybe there is already a small sense of familiarity. That emotional space creates the perfect environment for a nickname to feel natural instead of rehearsed. Another important factor is moderation. One mistake many men make is repeating the nickname too often. If every sentence starts with babe or baby, the word begins to lose its emotional impact. The power of a nickname comes from the moment it appears, not from constant repetition. A well-timed nickname feels like a small spark inside the conversation. It adds warmth without overwhelming the interaction. And here is something else that many people overlook. The most powerful nicknames are not always the most dramatic ones. Sometimes the simplest ones create the strongest emotional reaction. Why? Because simplicity feels authentic. A soft, hey, pretty lady, when she walks into the room can feel far more genuine than an exaggerated compliment. And when authenticity is present, attraction grows naturally. Now that you understand how tone, timing, and energy shape the emotional effect of nicknames, it is time to explore the first ones themselves. Because the first two nicknames we are about to discuss carry a very interesting psychological effect. They make a woman feel both admired and valued at the same time. And that combination is incredibly powerful. Now let's move into the first two nicknames. And you may notice something interesting about them. They both trigger admiration, but they do it in slightly different ways. The first one is Pretty Lady. At first glance, this nickname seems simple, almost too simple. But psychologically, it carries a powerful combination of respect and attraction. When you call a woman Pretty Lady, you are not just complimenting her appearance. You are acknowledging her presence. Women want to feel beautiful, yes, but they also want to feel elegant and appreciated. Pretty Lady carries a tone that feels warm and refined. It does not sound overly intense or dramatic. It feels calm, respectful, and genuine. When said with the right tone, it has a soft charm to it. Imagine greeting her with a relaxed smile and saying, hey, pretty lady. It creates a moment of recognition. It tells her that in that moment you noticed her, and human beings are naturally drawn to people who make them feel seen. The second nickname works on a slightly different emotional layer. It is princess or queen. These two words carry a sense of admiration and emotional elevation. They communicate that you view her as someone valuable in your life. But here is the important detail most men miss. This nickname only works when it is spoken with confidence and emotional balance. When a confident man calls a woman my queen, it feels like appreciation. It feels like recognition of her value. But when the same words are said with insecurity or excessive intensity, it can feel overwhelming. Women are not attracted to worship. They are attracted to confident admiration. The psychological difference is subtle but important. Admiration says, I value you. Worship says, I need you. And attraction grows in admiration, not dependency. When used naturally, words like princess or queen touch a deeper emotional desire that many women carry. The desire to feel cherished, respected, and safe within someone's presence. This nickname only works when it is spoken with confidence and emotional balance. When a confident man calls a woman my queen, it feels like appreciation. It feels like recognition of her value. But when the same words are said with insecurity or excessive intensity, it can feel overwhelming. Women are not attracted to worship. They are attracted to confident admiration. The psychological difference is subtle but important. Admiration says, I value you. Worship says, I need you. And attraction grows in admiration, not dependency. When used naturally, words like princess or queen touch a deeper emotional desire that many women carry. The desire to feel cherished, respected, and safe within someone's presence. It signals that you appreciate both her feminine energy and her individuality. And when she feels that balance, something interesting happens. She begins to relax emotionally around you because appreciation without pressure creates comfort. Now, here is the fascinating part. While these first two nicknames build admiration and emotional warmth, the next nickname works in a completely different way. It creates recognition, a simple phrase that can instantly change the emotional tone of a conversation. And that nickname is one you have definitely heard before. But when it is used correctly, it becomes far more powerful than most people realize. Imagine greeting her with a relaxed tone and saying, Hey, gorgeous. Just two words. But those two words can instantly shift the emotional atmosphere of the conversation. Her brain registers appreciation, attention, and attraction all at once. And here is something interesting about human psychology. People remember how others make them feel during ordinary moments much more than during dramatic ones. A grand compliment during a special occasion is nice, but a casual, hey gorgeous, during a normal moment can linger in her mind far longer. Why? Because it feels real. Another reason this nickname works so well is that it taps into identity. When you call someone gorgeous, you are not just complimenting something temporary. You are acknowledging the way they present themselves to the world. It becomes a reflection of how you see her. But again, the key factor is tone. The word should feel natural, not exaggerated. Confidence and calm delivery are what make it attractive. If it sounds forced, the emotional impact disappears. Why? Because it feels real. Another reason this nickname works so well is that it taps into identity. When you call someone gorgeous, you are not just complimenting something temporary. You are acknowledging the way they present themselves to the world. It becomes a reflection of how you see her. But again, the key factor is tone. The word should feel natural, not exaggerated. Confidence and calm delivery are what make it attractive. If it sounds forced, the emotional impact disappears. Now, we move into two of the most common nicknames used in relationships, yet they are also the ones most men misunderstand. The nicknames are babe and baby. Almost everyone has heard them before, which is exactly why some people assume they are ordinary, but psychologically, these two words operate on a completely different level compared to compliments like Pretty lady or gorgeous. Those earlier nicknames create admiration. Babe and baby create closeness. When a woman hears these words from someone she already feels comfortable with, they signal familiarity and emotional bonding. They tell her that the interaction has moved beyond formal conversation into a space of shared comfort. It is similar to the difference between someone calling you by your full name and someone shortening it into something more personal. The shortened version signals that the relationship has shifted into a warmer, more relaxed space. But here is the critical mistake many men make with these nicknames. They overuse them. Some men begin using babe in nearly every sentence. Babe this, babe that, babe listen. When that happens, the word quickly loses its emotional impact. Nicknames only work when they feel natural, not mechanical. A calm, confident, hey babe, spoken at the right moment, can instantly create warmth. But if it is repeated constantly, it begins to sound like background noise instead of affection. The nickname baby works slightly differently. It carries a softer emotional tone. While babe feels casual and familiar, baby carries a deeper sense of emotional vulnerability. It signals care, protection, and closeness. When spoken gently, it can trigger a strong emotional response because it touches the human desire to feel safe and valued. But again, tone is everything. If it sounds forced or exaggerated, the emotional connection disappears. If it sounds calm and natural, it can feel deeply comforting. This is why experienced communicators understand something important. Words alone do not create attraction. The emotional state behind the words does. And when that emotional state feels genuine, even the simplest nickname can carry powerful meaning. Now, the next two nicknames shift the emotional energy again. They move away from comfort and into playfulness and warmth, which creates a completely different type of attraction. Now, let's move into the next two nicknames. And these ones carry a very different emotional energy. While the previous nicknames created admiration and comfort, these two create playfulness and emotional warmth. The first one is cutie. At first glance, it sounds light and simple, but psychologically, it touches a very specific emotional space. When you call a woman cutie, you are not only acknowledging her attractiveness, you are inviting a playful dynamic into the interaction. Playfulness is incredibly important in attraction. When interactions become too serious or too logical, emotional tension disappears. But when there is a hint of playfulness, it allows her to relax and move out of her analytical mind. That shift matters. Women are naturally drawn to men who can create an environment where they feel comfortable expressing their lighter, more spontaneous side. Calling her cutie taps directly into that emotional state. Imagine a moment where she says something playful or laughs at a small joke. A relaxed smile and a simple, "You're such a cutie," can make the moment feel warm and genuine. It is not overly intense. It does not create pressure. It simply reinforces the feeling that being around you is enjoyable. And enjoyment is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. The second nickname in this section is sunshine. This one works on a completely different emotional layer. When you call someone sunshine, you are acknowledging the energy they bring into your life. Instead of focusing only on physical beauty, this nickname recognizes the emotional effect she has on you. Psychologically, people are deeply drawn to those who notice how they make others feel. When you say something like, "Good morning, sunshine," it sends a message that her presence brightens your day. It makes her feel appreciated, not just for how she looks, but for the warmth she carries. That type of recognition creates emotional intimacy. It tells her that you are paying attention to the way she influences your mood and your environment. And when someone feels that kind of appreciation, they naturally feel closer to the person expressing it. So while cutie creates playful energy, sunshine builds emotional warmth. Together, they balance attraction with comfort. Now, the next two nicknames introduce an entirely different dynamic. One taps into gentleness and emotional safety, while the other sparks confidence and desire. Now we move into two nicknames that activate completely different emotional responses. One creates a feeling of peace and emotional safety, while the other sparks playful desire and attraction. The first nickname is Angel. When you call a woman Angel, you are not focusing on her appearance. You are recognizing something deeper about her presence. The nickname suggests that she brings calm, kindness, or comfort into your life. Psychologically, this taps into a powerful emotional desire many women carry, the desire to feel like they bring something meaningful into the lives of the people they care about. When someone hears Angel, it reflects softness, warmth, and appreciation. It signals that you see her not just as attractive, but as someone who adds peace to your world. But timing matters here. This nickname works best in moments where she has shown kindness or emotional support. Maybe she helped you with something. Maybe she said something thoughtful. Maybe she simply made your day feel lighter. In those moments, saying something like, "You're an angel," can feel incredibly genuine. It reflects gratitude rather than flattery, and gratitude creates strong emotional bonds. Now, let's shift to the next nickname, which carries a completely different energy. The nickname is Hot Stuff. While Angel speaks to warmth and nurturing, Hot Stuff speaks to attraction and confidence. It communicates that you see her as desirable, but without sounding overly serious. The key to this nickname is playful delivery. Said with a relaxed smile or a teasing tone, it creates a moment of light tension. It acknowledges her attractiveness in a way that feels confident rather than desperate. Women often enjoy feeling desired, but the difference between attractive and uncomfortable lies in how the message is delivered. If it sounds aggressive or exaggerated, it loses its charm. But when it is said casually with calm confidence, it can feel exciting and flattering at the same time. This nickname introduces a spark of flirtation while still keeping the interaction light. And when flirtation is balanced with respect and confidence, attraction naturally grows. Now we are about to reach the most powerful nickname of all, because unlike the others, this one cannot be copied from a list. It is created from something unique